For 10 long years, the formidable stone walls of Troy had stood invincible, repelling every assault from the united Greek armies. Inside the city, despite the exhaustion of the prolonged war, the people held firm to their faith in the gods' protection and in the strength of their greatest hero, Prince Hector. On that night, the atmosphere in the royal hall was tenser than ever. King Priam, old but unyielding, sat on his throne, looking at the brave face of his son Hector, whose eyes were heavy with weariness. "My son," the king asked, his voice thick with age, "how much longer must Troy endure?" Hector was still filled with hope. He looked out the window, where the flickering lights of the enemy camp could be seen. "Father, we have repelled them time and again. They have lost Achilles, their greatest warrior. Troy will never fall." But at that moment, a desperate voice pierced the air. It was Cassandra, the cursed princess with the gift of prophecy whom no one believed. With wild, disheveled hair and a frantic look in her eyes, she rushed into the hall. "No! Blood! Blood will stain the Scamander River. I see a horse. A giant horse, carrying death into the heart of our city," she shrieked. King Priam sighed, motioning for the guards to escort Cassandra out. Her prophecies had become an obsession for the royal family. Everyone believed she was mad, except for Helen, the woman who had indirectly caused the war. Helen watched Cassandra with a look of guilt and fear. Paris, who had taken Helen from Sparta, saw only a nuisance. "Sister, she always brings bad omens. Father, why would we be rattled by such words?" Hector simply placed a hand on his sister's shoulder, then turned and walked away, his heart heavy. He didn't believe in the prophecy, yet a warrior's suspicion was etched into his very soul. Dawn broke, signaling a new day, but not a day for battle. The beach before Troy was eerily deserted. The Greek army had vanished. All that remained was a colossal wooden object, shaped like a horse, standing silently on the sand. A chorus of cheers erupted throughout the city. "They've retreated. We have won." Thousands of Trojans poured out of the city, dancing in jubilant celebration. Unable to contain his joy, King Priam embraced Hector. "My son, victory is ours. This wooden horse is a gift, an offering of gratitude to the gods." But Hector stood motionless, his eyes filled with caution as he studied the horse. "I don't believe it, Father. The Greeks never give up. Especially not Odysseus. He is famous for his cunning." However, faced with the overwhelming joy of the people, the exhaustion of a long war won out over caution. "Don't spoil the celebration. Hector," Paris said gleefully. "This is Troy's victory." The people chanted in unison. "Bring the horse in. Bring the horse into the city." Cassandra ran to them, tears streaming down her face, and knelt before the crowd. "No! You are bringing death into your home. Burn it! Burn it!" Her plea was drowned out by the joyous cheers. The wooden horse was pulled through the magnificent gates of Troy and into the city. The gates closed behind it with a heavy thud, like a death knell. That night, Troy was immersed in a celebration of victory like no other. Wine flowed, songs echoed, and the people forgot 10 years of suffering. But Hector could not join the revelry. He stood on the city walls, looking out at the sea, his eyes filled with unease. Paris found him and clapped him on the shoulder. "Brother, forget everything. Tonight, we are the victors." But Hector remained silent. Tony, a warrior's instinct told him that something was terribly wrong. And then, his instinct proved to be true. In the midst of the merriment, a faint sound came from the belly of the wooden horse. The crowd fell silent. A hidden door opened. Odysseus and his most elite Greek warriors leaped out, their weapons gleaming. "You've fallen into our trap, Hector!" Odysseus sneered. At that very moment, a horn blast echoed from the sea. Thousands of Greek ships were returning. The city gates had been unlocked from within. The slaughter began. In the chaotic night, Hector fought like a god. He charged, fighting multiple enemies alone, trying to protect his king and family. The clash of swords, the screams, and the cries of anguish echoed throughout the city. Flames erupted, consuming the great buildings of Troy. Hector found Odysseus in the midst of the chaos. They fought, but Hector was exhausted and severely wounded. He was overpowered by many Greek soldiers. In his final moments, Hector watched as his father, King Priam, was brutally killed before his eyes. He cried out in agony, but he was powerless. Dawn broke, illuminating a desolate Troy, with only charred ruins remaining. 10 years of war had ended, not with a glorious victory, but with a cunning ploy and a painful fall. A once great civilization had become ashes, and the story of its downfall would forever be passed down as a lesson on blind overconfidence and the power of wit. It is the story of the most resilient city, which fell not to the strength of its enemies, but to a wooden horse and a prophecy that no one would believe.